My name is Lisa Stepnuk. I'm the Director of Equity and Representation at Engineers Geoscientists Manitoba, and I'm primarily responsible for the 30 by 30 file. Equity and representation are important to the fields of engineering and geoscience because engineers and geoscientists solve the problems and design the worlds that we live in. Equity is the practice of identifying power imbalances and then rectifying them. So we need to be identifying the ways in which sexism, racism, transphobia, fatphobia, ableism are at play, and then specifically within our profession. So we know that the systems around education and workplace culture were all designed specifically for men and specifically for and by white men. Now, of course, that is no longer our practice. However, that is a legacy that has continued and we haven't fixed everything yet. And so what we need to be doing is developing the skill sets to identify how those still operate in our workplaces, in our licensing protocols, and how we are going to fix those problems. And so it's really important that all of the communities and people who will be affected are represented at the decision-making tables, and that includes the decision-making tables for engineering and for geoscience. The Department of Equity and Representation came out of End 5, so the strategic end of the association that practitioners will reflect the diversity of the public. So the first two strategic ends that came out of that were that we need to have better gender equity in the professions, and also that we need to increase the number of Indigenous members in the professions as well. Engineers Geoscientists Manitoba is delivering on its equity and representation mandate by focusing on the 30 by 30 file. So End 5.2, which is that by 2030, 30% of newly licensed engineers will be women. We are looking at the reasons why women might not even apply to do engineering or geoscience. We're looking at the reasons why they might not stay within the professions after they graduate, why they might not get promoted, or why they might not get licensed through the association. We're trying to look at all of those reasons and identify mechanisms by which we can eradicate that, ways that we can fix those problems and meet the needs, which are very gendered at times, and sometimes not, right? We also know that many women thrive in engineering and geoscience, and it can depend very much on timing, on workplace, on the team that they are a part of or the work that they do. For example, we hear stories of, recent grads, women who went into the profession because they want to make a difference and they want to continue making a difference, and they're doing that in the fields of biomedicine, in the automotive industry, in climate change mitigation. You can actually go and see some of their stories on our website. There's the My Story campaign that shows them speaking, telling their own stories and talking about the work they do, why it's rewarding and why it's important. What I think is important for our members to know with respect to the 30 by 30 file is that we are trying to make available the best practices for achieving gender equity, and that every single one of us has a role to play and a responsibility in achieving it. The 30 by 30 goal is a goal based in metrics, right? It's to have 30% of newly licensed engineers be women by 2030. But the spirit of the campaign is really to achieve gender equity in the profession. So we need to make significant systemic change, both in our workplace cultures, our workplace policies, and our licensure pathways in Manitoba, so that we will keep those women, right? We could hit that 30 by 30 goal and it might not be sustainable if we don't do it the right way. So we need to make sure that the moves that we make, the strategies that we adopt to achieve it, have systemic impact and that they are evidence-based. So that is how we're going to commit to it, and that's how we're going to achieve that goal and then shoot way beyond that goal.